Okay, we are back. Today we're looking at the segment of letters in mind. We looked at diamond and now we're looking at mind, M-I-N-D. Today we're looking at the letter I, which stands for imagination. Now before this broadcast, a couple things happened. This is live, by the way, but this is what happened. Usually I listen to the broadcast that I did a couple months ago on the same topic, which I did. And I was surprised that it was in May, right after we got back from Ireland. Now here it is September, the beginning of September. So we have September, October, November, December. The year of 2023 is going to be over. It is just amazing how time flies. So here's another thing that happened that's really interesting. I'm in a old new location. So I'm back in the location that I was filming a couple months ago, and here's what happened. About an hour before we go live, I check the camera, I check the video, I upload, different copy, and I have about an hour to get everything ready. And that's plenty of time. At 4 o'clock, I turned on the camera, the video camera, and the battery was dead. So I was in the process of charging it, right? And I thought to myself, I wonder if this is going to work, if the battery is going to charge, which it didn't. And then I remember I have another camera upstairs. I just got it. I've only used it once up in Boston when I filmed an event there. So I went upstairs, I grabbed it, put it all together. And as I'm, trying to put all the pieces together here, because I'm really clear on the outcome. The outcome is I want to talk about imagination, but not just on the Blog Talk Radio. I also want to have it filmed. And I was looking at a few obstacles, and then I just simply calmed down and I thought to myself, the easiest answer is the simplest answer. So I decided to come back into this recording space and just simply plug the camera in. So I don't know about the battery life, but all I can tell you is there's an outlet not too far against the wall, and that's what's plugged in, and that's the reason why we are doing this and recording it. Now, why am I telling you the story? Imagination. Imagination plays a huge role in your success. Worry. What's worry? Worry is imagination used probably in a wrong way, right? Today, I was driving up to Manchester, Connecticut. All of a sudden, I see this truck on the other side of the road. It's a small road. It's not a highway or anything. And I thought, why is he on that side of the road? And then I realized on my side of the road was a bunch of glass, right? So as I drove through the glass, because I didn't have any time to adjust anything, I thought to myself, oh no, one of the tires is going to get cut, or I'm going to get a flat tire, and my imagination was just running, right? That's one way of using your imagination. You say the question, what if, right? What if? Like, what's going to happen? What we're going to talk about today is how to use imagination to get yourself unstuck. That's the key. Now, I recognize that when I talked about this topic back in, I guess it was May, I talked about the concept of the gap. The gap between the conscious and the unconscious mind. If the conscious mind is a triangle pointing upward, then the unconscious or other than conscious mind is pointing downward. There's a little bit of gap. How do you close the gap? Makes sense. I mean, I like the metaphor, I like the analogy. However, I had some time, since May to think about this, and I don't really think it has that much to do about closing the gap as it has to do with becoming unstuck. So let me show you what I'm talking about. In my lecture, I talk about the importance of focus. I draw a triangle pointing upward, and I have 3 arrows here pointing to the right, which is the future, right? It's easy to get distracted. The phone rings. I think last week when I was doing something, the phone was ringing. It's possible someone could knock on the door. Somebody over there could be cutting their grass. You could be listening to me and looking at your email. There's so many distractions, especially in our day today. And I think what happens is this, people get excited. They go to a seminar, they read a book, they go to a workshop, and then Monday morning, or in case this week, Tuesday, because this Monday is a holiday, Labor Day here in the States, people tend to fall back into the same patterns. The same patterns of being and thinking and doing. You know, experts who study this say, you know, we have 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day. 90% of them are the same. Our thoughts, our words, and our actions, 50% of them are just habits. We're just running on autopilot like Groundhog Day. So how do you break this? How do you connect it, if you will, or get unstuck? Well, here's the second point. The first point is the conscious mind is easily distracted with the shiny ball syndrome. But the other challenge is if you look at the unconscious mind, which is a triangle below, it's facing to the past. Now just think about this for a moment. I just kind of had this aha moment as I was thinking about it a couple weeks ago. If you have distractions coming from the present or the future, you know, like whatever, like here it is Sunday night, let me look at the time, it is a little after 5, and there's distractions all around me, and there's distractions coming at me, you know, all this information. George Miller wrote a paper, 1957, wrote a paper called The Magical Number of 7, and what he was saying there is there's just billions and billions of bits of information coming at us. We can't take it all in. We can take in about 7 chunks of information, give or take a couple, but we can't take it all in. So we have to be choosy what we're going to focus our attention on. Before this podcast and before we went live and I was setting up the video camera, my focus was 100% on how do I get this recorded as a video, because I knew I could have done the podcast without it, but then I was thinking to myself, but I want this video, I want this update, because the last time we did this was May, here it is September, and I have some new information to share. All of my focus wasn't on the laundry, wasn't how beautiful, you know, it's beautiful today. I'm looking at the hammock outside on my porch, it's absolutely beautiful. I could have said, you know what, I'm just going to skip this broadcast, not going to care. I could have gone for a walk, I could have got on the phone, I could have gone into a spiral of saying, you know, what are we going to do, what am I going to do, this is terrible, you know. I didn't do that. All I did was focus all of my attention on the outcome. How am I going to get this recorded? What am I going to do? What resources do I have? Well, I have another camera. I can do this. I can charge the old camera. You know, I could have said to myself, how come I didn't charge this ahead of time? I'm such an idiot. Didn't go there. All I thought was, how do I make this work? So come Monday morning or Tuesday morning, most people use their imagination and they fall right back into where they were before. Why? Because it is a habit. And the conscious mind is easily distracted, right? And the unconscious mind has already been programmed. Now, I've been studying hypnosis for many years. I've been studying therapy, counseling, NLP. And one of the quotes that I love is that when a person goes to therapy, many times the reason why they go to therapy or they seek out someone to talk to is because the conscious mind is not aligned to the conscious mind. In other words, there's a major disconnect with what's going on with a person. And so people want to talk about it. Maybe it's past trauma, or maybe it's unresolved issues, but many times what's going on is unresolved issues in the unconscious that need to be brought to the surface. So as I began to think about it, this is not so much about closing the gap, though I think it is, I think that could work. It has to do with being unstuck. Because I could have froze, right? I could have said, I'm just not going to do this. This isn't going to work. I could have got distracted by 100,000 things going on. But I said, no, I just want to get this recorded. So my conscious mind and my unconscious mind were working together to form a solution. So yeah, okay, it could have been closing a gap, but what I'm talking about, which I think is better, is getting unstuck. Now think about this for one moment. Imagine that this Sharpie I have a Sharpie in my hand. Imagine this Sharpie is the diamond, and the top part here with the black cap is the conscious mind, right? And the bottom part, which is it's a lot larger, is the unconscious. Now, if you can't see this, you're listening to me. Imagine a Sharpie, a black Sharpie, and there's a cap at the top, and then the body of it is a lot longer below. Below the cap is the unconscious, or the other than conscious mind. The cap is the conscious. Now, imagine if the conscious mind is pulled in one direction, right? Let's say one way. And the unconscious is being pulled or pushed the opposite way at the same time with the same kind of force, right? So this is being pulled here, this is being pulled here. This thing is not going to go anywhere. Now, I've seen this in coaching. I've seen this with people. Here's a secret, and most people don't want to talk about this. When people bring in a speaker, even if he's good or she's good, 70% of the material is gone. It evaporates, 3 weeks or 2 weeks after the person spoke. 48 hours after a person gets out of a convention or a Zoom call, or they read a book or they take a class, we tend to go back to what is familiar. And this topic has been driving me crazy for the last 20 years. How come that is? Why is that? And how come there are some people that excel? Now, it's not the majority. I will tell you straight up, it's not the majority. Most people get focused. It's like New Year's Eve. Very few people stay focused. What is it about the minority, the small group of people that are able to get unstuck? What do they do that the other people don't do? Well, it's not techniques. I used to think techniques. I have many, many books on how to be focused. In fact, I just got one this week from Amazon the other day. A lot of the authors that I've read on how to be focused, they focus on techniques, tips, best practices. Make sure you get enough water. Make sure you get enough sleep, right? Make sure you avoid caffeine. Make sure you work offline or get exercise, walk, take breaks, listen to music. All of these things, they're great. They really are. They're a great place to start. The only issue that I have with these things is they all have to do with the conscious mind. You have to think about drinking water. You have to think about getting out in nature. You have to think about shutting down your social media, your computer, and working offline, or decluttering your office space. You have to think about all of these things with your conscious mind. And if you're getting bombarded with a lot of information, according to George Miller, billions, what chance do you have? Well, maybe you're able to do it. Maybe you're just going to use your will, really strong will, and get it going. Okay, great. But here's the challenge. Here's the challenge. You also have your unconscious that you're not aware of, that's working behind the scenes, that may be, people say this, sabotaging you. Oh, I'm self-sabotaging, people say, or I have imposter syndrome. I would love to be on YouTube. I would love to do this, but I don't know if I can. Here's the key. The key is imagination, and using our imagination in such a way that it breaks the spell of being stuck. So last time I did this in May, I talked about closing the gap. That's fine. I think it works. But I love the metaphor of pulling left and pulling right at the same time, with the conscious mind going one way, the unconscious mind going the other way, which is the past. And if you just pull it at the same time, nothing's going to happen. And that's most people, folks. And I'll tell you, I've listened to many, many people teach business skills. What they all know is what I'm telling you, and I know, is most people will not take action over the long term to make it automatic. So what is it about people that do it? I'm going to share with you the secret to using imagination right after we get back from this break. Hold on one second.
You've been listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. You wish you could sharpen your focus on what matters most to you and achieve more? Then you owe it to yourself to read Greg's ebook at Greg Dwyer. www.greatdwyerebook.com. Download it today and give it away. As always, we want to thank you for listening to the Great Dwyer Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio. Motivational speaker, Great Dwyer. Now back to our show. Take it away, Greg.
Okay, so the key is imagination. In fact, what I truly believe is the key to focus is hypnosis. And, people say, hypnosis? Yes, hypnosis. I'm not talking about stage hypnosis where people are running around on the stage acting like chickens or taking off their clothes because they think they're too cold. I'm not talking about that kind of hypnosis. I'm talking about the hypnosis when you pick up your phone and you have your phone in your hand and you're looking at it and you're swiping it and you're clicking it, 2,000 times a day, or you just simply look at your phone and an hour goes by. Or you sit down at social media and you're looking at your computer and you start to like a few things and 45 minutes goes by and you're like, what in the world? Jerry Seinfeld calls it hypnophonified. You're hypnophonified. Or if you don't like that analogy, you're driving down the street and everything's going well and you're somewhere else. You're daydreaming. This is what I'm talking about, daydreaming. People who look at this and study this say we spend about 30% of our life daydreaming. The other night we had a beautiful super blue moon. Went outside, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, took off my shoes, walked in the grass, and just looked at the moon for like 5 minutes and just reflected and just relaxed. I know it sounds crazy, but it was fun. And I thought to myself, the next time this is going to happen is 2037. I'm going to be in my 70s if I get there, right? That's what I was thinking. And I was projecting into the future where I was going to be and what I have let go of and what I'm moving towards, and thinking to myself, this is what I was thinking. Imagine Gregory, and that's my real name, imagine Gregory looking at this moon in 2037 and you're 74 years old and you've accomplished all of this in the last 14 years. Imagination, right? So I was gazing at the moon. I was reflecting and I was using my imagination. That's what I'm talking about. So if you don't like the word hypnosis, throw it out. Use daydreaming. It doesn't matter. But what I've learned over studying this for over a decade is that successful people, they know how to use hypnosis to stay focused. They do, and they do it. And people that don't know what they're doing it anyway. Imagination by what they feel, what they say, what they hear, what they write, what they see. Most people imagine, tomorrow's Labor Day. I imagine we're going to have hot dogs. Oh, this is going to be fun. The family's going to be coming over, or it's going to rain and they imagine the worst thing that's ever going to happen, right? People who are really, truly focused, business people, successful people, people who know what they want, they use that daydreaming time or that time of trance or hypnosis to focus on what's truly important to them. That's the key. That's what they do. And they focus on that one thing and then they take action. They take action first in their imagination and then in reality. And they do this over and over and over and over again until it becomes automatic. They don't have to think about it. So I had a client the other day and I said to her, think about something that's really important to you. Whatever it is, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Write it down. So I had her write it down. And I gave her a pocket watch. And I said, now imagine the pocket watch is going to go round in a circle. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Imagine it's going around. Now pick a time. Pick a time that's convenient for you to think about what's important to you every time you pick it. So she picked a time. She picked a time and I said, well, this is a convenient time. You can think about it in the morning and you can think about it in the evening. It wasn't like 3 o'clock. We have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was a great time because she could do it twice a day. And so the homework that I gave her was, here's what you do. Every time you set your alarm for this time in the morning and the evening, and when the alarm beeps on your watch, on your phone, whatever, you stop and you take a gaze at the moon. Take a gaze at the stars. You take a gaze at the sun. Whatever you have to do to put yourself in a trance-like state to think about what's important to you. And you don't change it. You don't get scattered. You don't answer the phone. You don't answer email. You do that one thing and you see it you say it, you think it, perhaps you write it, right? So you're using your imagination, using all of these three elements, and in the process of doing that, yes, you'll close the gap, but what you're really doing is you're causing congruency. So this is what I have here. I have a triangle and another triangle below it. So one triangle above, one triangle below, and two arrows, they meet in the middle. Why do people get stuck? Because they'll say things like, I really, truly want to make a lot of money, but money's evil. The subconscious mind is not in alignment with the conscious mind. I want to be really successful, but I know I have to call people and people are going to tell me no. So again, I don't want to do it. So again, there's a conflict. I want to be in a relationship, but I may get hurt. Somebody might break my heart. The conscious mind is not congruent with the conscious mind. People are stuck. And it's easier just to stay in old patterns than to get outside of your comfort zone and do something new, right? So that's the key. So let me show you what this looks like. A friend of mine in Florida gave me the inspiration for this. You know, sometimes I'm inspired and then sometimes I'm around inspiring people and they mastermind with me and I say, what do you think? And they give me an idea. I'm like, that's brilliant. You know, surrounding yourself with really successful people that inspire you rather than pull you down, definitely something to think about. All right, so I got the triangle above and then I have a triangle below. And I'm going to use a little bit of my imagination. So what I did is I put a sun over at the top, just like that. And the sun energy is very, very masculine. You know, it is focused energy, moving towards a target, conscious mind. This is what I want. This is what I want. I want my camera up. I want it being able to record my my process today. Very focused. Male energy. When I say male energy, I'm not talking about a male. It could be anybody, a female. I'm talking about the energy of focusing on one thing. I'm a guy. I'm a male. The other day I was on a Zoom call and somebody asked me to do 2 or 3 things and I said, stop, stop. I can't listen to you, talk to you, and upload a file at the same time. I'm sorry. That's how my mind works. I'm not a master of multitasking. I'm just not. Maybe you are, but not me at all. So the masculine mind, or this up here, focuses on one target and one target alone. Below you have the unconscious mind. And the symbol I have here is not the sun, I have water, right? So it's very, you know, if you think about this as all black and I have blue water here and this is all red. Red and black, they tie together, but the water represents the unconscious, and the rest of the triangle here is all black, meaning, you know, if you've ever gone out into the ocean, you know the water's blue, but you know why it's blue. It's reflecting the sky, right? Any body of water. It's reflecting the sky. The water's not blue, is it? I don't think so. I think if you go out and you get some water and you look at it or put it in a glass, you go, that's not blue. Yeah, it's probably not going to be blue. I think it's blue because of the reflection of the sky. But if you go down 10 feet, you go down 50 feet, you go down 100 feet, right? You go down 1,000 feet, it's pretty dark down there. And you don't know what you're going to find at an ocean. It's the same thing with the unconscious, right? So I talk about closing the gap. What did I do? I put a boat, and the name of the boat is Imagine. Kind of reminds me of John Lennon. John Lennon? The Beatles? Yeah, Imagine, right? Imagine there's no war, right? All right. So with that, I have a little sail. This is my little sailboat. And the sailboat connects the top to the bottom. And really, what the sailboat is imagination. That's what it is. So what I encourage my clients to do is to get really clear. Get like crystal clear on what's important at work, what's important at home, what's important in your life. You can't have a million things that are important. It's not possible. You can't do it. You go crazy. You need the male energy of focusing on one thing, and you also need the creative energy that is in flow, right? It's in flow. Like right now, we're doing this broadcast. We have about 4 minutes left. After this is over, I'm going to flow and do something else, right? Not going to be focusing about this video camera and this podcast. Going to move on to the next thing, move on to Labor Day. So you need both of these things working together. The conscious and the unconscious, the male and the female working together. If you've ever seen a tarot card of the lovers, right? Somebody pointed this out to me. At the very top, there's the sun or the energy or God or the universe, and the man is standing on one side, the female is standing on the other side. The male is looking to the female, and the female is looking up to the heavens, right? If you think about it, just bear with me for a moment. You got the point up here at the top, you got the male over here, you got the female over here. What does that give you? That gives you a triangle, right? So the male is looking to the female. Now, what I'm talking about here is not taking, advice from your wife, though you can. I mean, if she tells you to take out the garbage, I would do that. But what I'm talking about is the conscious mind looking to the subconscious for answers, and then it all being pulled together with the superconscious, which is, I don't know if you believe in God or a higher power or the universe, but I gotta tell you, a lot of what I do, which is journaling, comes to me in the middle of the night, comes to me while I'm going for a walk, comes to me when I wake up in the morning, comes to me when I'm driving. I always am looking for a pen in the car because thoughts come to me. The other day, focus with hypnosis came to me. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. 3 words, focus with hypnosis. Really simple, very simple, right to the point. 3 words, gets the message across. My point in saying this, let's say none of this is true. None of this is true. What I'm talking about here, I'm talking about my imagination. I'm talking about me tapping into something that may or may not exist, but I imagine that it does. And in the process, I get answers. And in the process, I'm focused. And in the process, my unconscious mind is working in sync with my conscious mind. There's no contradiction. People who are successful, they're not following tips or tricks or best practices like make sure you drink enough water. They're not doing that. They are obsessed with what's important to them, and they're using their imagination, they're using their daydreaming time to go into a trance, to think about it all the time. Now, here's what I find extremely funny and extremely ironic. I am 60 years old. I've been studying this for at least a decade. And I know I've been interested in this topic for at least 20 years. Like, why are some people successful and other people are not? So this has been in my conscious thinking for 20 years. When I started as a magician when I was, 10 years old, 15 years old, this is what I did without anyone telling me. All I did was I knew what was important, and I thought about it all the time, which was magic, which was performing, which is getting on stages, which everything for at least a decade was just simply focusing on one thing, and I thought about it. It's what I said, it's what I heard, it's what I felt, and it was the one thing that made me a magician in the 70s. And then I went to college, went to graduate school, kind of unlearned all that to study and to research to come back to what I already knew. So, next week we're going to talk about the next letter. I'm just letting you know, most people get focused, very few people stay focused, and one of the keys is imagination. Using your imagination to put yourself in a trance. We'll catch you next time. Thanks.